You ever notice how Chinese propaganda screams every other week? China has overtaken America in innovation. Yeah. Okay. And I'm about to overtake LeBron James in basketball because I once dunked on a 6 foot ring at my cousin's barbecue. Let's be honest. China isn't an innovation hub. It is the world's most efficient knockoff factory. From iPhones to bullet trains to AI apps to ideologies including communism, they've mastered the art of copy paste with a Beijing accent. But here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not about being lazy or lacking talent. Chinese people have the potential to be creative. The problem is the system. China cannot innovate, period. And I'll show you why. When I was living in Beijing, I had a friend working at what was hyped as the next great Chinese startup. Investors loved it. State media sang its praises. And he swore it was going to redefine human connection. And I downloaded the app and nearly spit out my coffee. It wasn't revolutionary. It was basically Tinder. Swipe left, swipe right, except with Chinese fonts and a dragon logo. And I asked him very directly why they didn't try something original. And he told me because if they copy what already works, they survive. If they try something new and fail, they disappear. And that was the light bulb moment. Innovation wasn't about ideas, it was about survival. The smartest people I knew weren't inventing the next iPhone. They were perfecting the next knockoff. Not because they lacked talent, but because the system punished risk and rewarded imitation. In China, copying isn't a bug, it's the business model. And here's the $1 billion question. Why bother innovating when you can just steal intellectual property? Think about it. Innovation is hard. It's messy. You spend years in labs, burn through millions in R&D, fail 10 times before you succeed once. Or you can just wait for someone in Silicon Valley or Tokyo to do the hard work and then copy paste the results. And that's exactly what the China's system rewards. Instead of cultivating inventors, it cultivates collectors. Hack a few servers, download some blueprints, and congratulations, you are now an innovative Chinese company. I mean, we've all read the stories, right? Chinese fighter jet designs mysteriously looking identical to American prototypes. Huawei phones built on suspiciously familiar technology. EV companies rolling out cars that look like Tesla knockoff, down to the door handles. Coincidence? Please. And here's the irony. The government actually brags about it. They call it absorbing foreign knowledge. Translation? Intellectual property theft is a feature, not a bug. Why fund curiosity when you can fund copy and paste? And the sad result is this. Stealing IP buys you time, but not the future. You can't fake originality forever. Once the world locks you out, and let's be honest, that's already happening with the tech decoupling, with chips, with AI, with biotech, then you are stuck with yesterday's technology and no way forward. You've heard it 1,000 times. China loves bragging about the four great inventions of ancient China: gunpowder, the compass, paper making, and printing. Sounds impressive. Except here's the kicker. That whole idea of four great inventions wasn't even invented by the Chinese historians. It was dreamt up by a British guy named Joseph Needham. And in China, Needham has been worshipped like some techno prophet, the ultimate authority on Chinese science. Reality check: the man didn't understand science, didn't understand history, and definitely didn't understand China. His Chinese was so bad, he couldn't even read the classics properly. And those so-called inventions? For every single one of them, there's earlier physical evidence in the West. The four great inventions of China are just fairy tale. So what do you do when your original myth falls apart? Easy. You invent a new one. Now enter the new four great inventions of China. This little gem popped up in Chinese state media around 2017. At the National People's Congress, Tencent's boss, Ma Huateng, Pony Ma, proudly declared, "In China, we have a new saying, the new four great inventions: high-speed rail, online shopping, mobile payments, and bike sharing." Wow, clap it up. Except problem. None of these things were actually invented in China. Not one. They were all copied, polished, and rebranded from elsewhere. Let's break it down. High-speed rail. Sorry, Japan did it first with the Shinkansen back in 1964. China stole the Japanese technology and is still playing catch up. Mobile payments. Finland in 1997. Then Apple Pay in 2014 brought it mainstream. China just scaled it with Alipay and WeChat Pay. E-commerce. A British guy, Michael Aldrich, cooked it up in 1979. Amazon and eBay made it global in 1995. What about bike sharing? Hippies in Amsterdam had the idea back in the 1960s. Copenhagen ran the first big program in the 90s. So yeah, China's new inventions are basically hand-me-downs with a Made in China sticker slapped on. Now, don't get me wrong, China has got big dreams. They want to be an innovation powerhouse. And last year, they claimed to have spent over 3.3 trillion yuan on R&D, more than Japan and Germany combined, second only to the US. Xi Jinping brags about the breakthroughs in key technologies, and state media preaches about overcoming Western tech hegemony. But here's the problem. Innovation doesn't work that way. You can't order creativity by government decree. You can't mandate be disruptive at the next Politburo meeting. You can throw trillions at research, but without freedom, without rule of law, without a system that protect property rights, all you're going to get is a few flashy projects, not a real tech revolution that benefit the world. Don't just take my word for it. Daron Acemoglu and James Robinson, Nobel-winning heavyweights, spell it out in the book Narrow Corridor. The basic idea is that China's growth isn't free market innovation. It's state-supervised authoritarian growth. An unchecked power always gets abused. Any true breakthrough that threatens the political order, forget it. The party will crush it faster than you can say social stability. But innovation requires failure. It requires experiments that bomb before one finally hits. It requires weirdos dreaming up crazy problems no one else even thought about. And most of all, it requires freedom. Freedom to fail and a freedom to try things the new way, to challenge the status quo. And that's exactly what China doesn't have. Instead, it has freedom with Chinese characteristics, which is just a fancy way of saying no freedom at all. So next time you hear Beijing bragging about the new Four Great Inventions, remember, it's not innovation. It's just cosplay. Now, let's break down what innovation actually is. People think it's about money, labs, and patents. Wrong. Innovation is messy. It's evolution, replication, variation, selection. You need chaos, unpredictability, and failure. Think Silicon Valley. Half the startups there crash and burn. But the ones that survive change the world forever. China's model hates that chaos. Beijing thinks greatness can be just centrally planned. They treat innovation like a 5-year economic plan. Like you can just decree, be creative by Tuesday. That's not how it works. Imagine telling Darwin, hey, forget natural selection. Just evolve pandas into lions on command. That is the logic of China's innovation drive. And here's the catch. When you kill randomness, you kill innovation. What is left? Karaoke versions of other people's ideas. And very importantly, innovation needs entrepreneurs. Those crazy, stubborn, risk-obsessed people who connect the dots nobody else sees. They are the glue in the system. In Silicon Valley, entrepreneurs are rock stars. In China, they are disposable batteries. Here's how it works. You start a company, you succeed. You attract attention. And then the CCP knocks. Suddenly, your private company isn't so private anymore. You're forced into joint ventures with state-owned giants. Your board is stacked with CCP bureaucrats. Your role as a visionary replaced by some guy whose main qualification is filling out party forms correctly. Jack Ma is the poster child. Once hailed as China's Steve Jobs, now he's hiding out a shadow of his former self. In China, the more successful you are, the bigger target you become. That is not an innovation ecosystem. That is a recycling program for ambitious people. And let's not forget, culture matters a lot. Let's zoom out historically. For centuries, China's knowledge system wasn't about innovation. It was about conformity, passing imperial exams by memorizing Confucian classics. The empire rewarded stability and obedience. Fast forward today, the culture hasn't really shifted. The Gaokao exams still train millions of kids to memorize, not to create. Technical talent, yes. Originality, crushed. The system still believes the best way to climb the career ladder is to conform, not to disrupt. And here's the kicker. Innovation is about breaking rules. But in China, breaking rules gets you censored, fired, or even worse. You can't have Silicon Valley energy in a society where people fear saying the wrong thing online will get them disappeared. But hey, I gotta give China some credit. They did innovate one thing brilliantly: censorship. The Great Firewall is so advanced, it makes George Orwell look like amateur hour. Too bad you can't export that to the global market. Nobody wants Twitter with Chinese characteristics. And here's why that matters. Without real innovation, China is running on borrowed time. The US cuts them off from advanced semiconductors. Japan locked down materials, and suddenly the world's factory is out of blueprints. For decades, China lived off reverse engineering. But what happens when a pipeline of Western tech dries up? What happens when the US doesn't hand over the next iPhone design? Exactly. Obsolete and then collapse. And that is why Beijing is panicking right now, throwing money into new productive forces, yelling about AI, biotech, EVs. But you can't buy creativity. You can't order curiosity by decree. You can't command Mozart to write a symphony when your only tool is a marching band. And I've seen this firsthand. Talented friends, Chinese entrepreneurs, forced to play it safe. Creative engineers stuck building copycat apps instead of world-changing tech. Bright students crushed under those exam hell. The brain power is there. The imagination is there. But the freedom is not. And that's the tragedy. China will never be an innovation superpower, not because its people are not smart, but because its system is designed to suffocate them. True innovation thrives on freedom, risk, and unpredictability. China thrives on fear, conformity, and control. That is why America gave the world the iPhone, Japan gave the world the Walkman, and China gave the world counterfeit Louis Vuitton and communism imported from a German. Until Beijing tears down its bureaucratic stranglehold, innovation with Chinese characteristics will mean just one thing: knockoffs with better packaging. And if you honestly believe China is about to out-innovate Silicon Valley, well, I've got a slightly used bridge in Shenzhen I would love to sell you.